Okay. Just gonna wait a few minutes here. Oh, let me turn that off. Okay. Do we have anyone else in here, Melissa, yet? So this is a little test. Not exactly sure if this is how it's supposed to look or not. Oh, that's a little different. Okay, so oh, okay. So right now it's in a certain kind of mode with the camera. So let me see real quick. Okay. All right. So I'm here, I'm live, and I'm talking to myself, and that's okay because I'm just forcing myself to do this and get through it. Um, Again, this is like my first time doing this method, so I can't see who's here. I don't even know if I can see the chat. And if you're here, just throw something in the chat so I know that that's working out because I'm just trying to test all this out. I don't necessarily like how the look is, but I can certainly adjust things like that later after I decide what I like and don't like. So, oh, there are people popping up. All right, thank you. I appreciate that because I don't know really what I'm doing and I'm just trying to force myself to walk through it. And that's all there is to that. So, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, and they don't know who I am or what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to post it in there. And if it catches my eye, I will definitely get back to it because I don't necessarily have a topic. Um, I'm just trying to walk through that. No, I'm not a fan of T Swift, actually. I am not. Um, yeah. I also see who am I? I am Carrie Ann Callahan Mofford, and what I'm doing this evening is forcing myself to walk through um, a live feed. And the reason I'm doing that is because eventually I'm going to be on here regularly talking about truth, health, freedom, and there's a lot of different stuff that I get my hands into also. Um, I do a lot of volunteer work. But the main message that I'm trying to get across right now is that I was living undiagnosed for a minimum of 14 years and was going to all different kinds of specialists, and I wasn't getting any answers, but I was having each one of those doctors were throwing a medication at me. So at one point, I ended up in the hospital and I checked myself out, AMA, because multiple reasons. And I went outpatient to see a particular doctor who then ordered a bunch of labs. And because she had personal experience with a friend of hers who was also a doctor, um, she basically kind of said, yes, you're probably going to have to go holistic. Um, and that's what I did. So for a while, I was traveling up to a naturopath in New Hampshire. I'm in Massachusetts, by the way. And what happened was my husband, who is extremely supportive, um, made the decision that we should probably buy some of these machines that we're utilizing through a naturopath and put them in our home. So we did that, and I started to get a whole lot better um, through infrared treatment as well as an ionic cleanse. And if you guys have questions about that, I don't know. I don't even know if my website is like streaming across the top or anything like that, but it is the very first comment. I did put up my website. And if you want to check that out, that is kcminterventions.com. And so what happened is when I switched over to natural medicine, I started to get better. And I live a lifestyle where I'm blessed enough that if I want to help others, I can. So the point here is to get some exposure on how I'm treating two chronic illnesses. One of them is chronic Lyme disease, the other one is lupus. And there's a bunch of, co-infections that go along with tick-borne diseases. And so things like, lifestyle change, food, things like that are all always huge factors. Um, but infrared treatment is so amazing. And, the three-letter agencies are never going to give it the credit that it deserves because then, we wouldn't need to have all the big pharma. Um, so with that being said, my goal is to come on here to this platform and try to educate as best I can, my personal experience, strength, and hope, and share with other people that might be suffering all of the awesome things that infrared does, as well as the unbelievable results of the AMD, a major difference, ionic foot cleanse, which detoxifies the body through the feet. And there's a million foot baths out there, but there are none that are medical grade the way that the AMD bath is. Um, I see you, Jason. Yes, Lyme disease is super prevalent in our area. If you looked at some research and some numbers, you would see that it is it's epidemic proportions. Um, and you're a retired farmer. That's fantastic. Excellent. Also, happy birthday on Sunday. Um, so, trying to get well between changing your diet, your lifestyle, and then implementing a couple of these really super simple almost luxury items. So, like, for an example, the infrared sauna, they will advertise that for youth, for youthful looking skin, for muscle recovery, for pre-surgical prep, post-surgical healing, all of those things, weight loss, mood changes for the better. Um, and the reason why I'm wording it like this is because we know we can't really necessarily advertise those machines for health and wellness because, it's not approved by the FDA or the CDC. However, for anyone who is questioning, you can also do a little research on infrared sauna. And also, I encourage everybody to ask themselves, why is it that it works for weight loss? Why is it that it works for anti aging? There's a reason, and that reason is cellular regeneration. It's also detoxifying the body. So you're talking about pulling out the toxins and regenerating new good cells. So that is helpful for no matter what you have. Um, and there's more information on that, of course, on my website, which then also you can join. I have a Facebook group or a Facebook page actually. And a lot of the information is up there. And in fact, I think I have a lot of the research posted there as well. Um, I also did a great deal of time working in recovery for substance abuse, mental health, domestic violence, rape crisis, and I have assisted in some DCF cases where there are times that the system can, through miscommunication and a little bit of other confusion, can be difficult for the average person to navigate. So, if I advocate with them or for them, typically what I try to do is close the gap between what they're expected to do and point them in the direction of the thing on the checklist that needs to be done according to their care plan. And I've I've been pretty spot on every single time I've met with someone, as far as developing a care plan before their worker was even in the picture. So, with that being said, I'm pretty accountable for that as well. Um, let's see. I have a lot of random strange interests, and yeah, see, so here's the thing is that I'm trying to watch the comments and do this at the same time, and again, like, I have to get comfortable and learn how to navigate all of this, so, that's what I'm doing. But in the meantime, so I do have a little wellness center built into my basement currently, in my home, and in there, I have a 4 to 6 person clear light sanctuary sea model, and that one is really fantastic. You can hook up your phone, Bluetooth, you can listen to a podcast, you can put on music, whatever, and it has in the wall, it has, a space that is temperature protected to put your device in. There's also a power outlet in there, so if you wanted to charge your device while it was in there, you could do that as well. And let's see. I do have a couple of, well, more than a couple of solo saunas, which looks kind of like a tube. You lay on a mat and then you want to pull the tube over yourself, which again, you can see right on my website. I don't have any links prepared. I'm not that savvy at this. This is probably my first time going live alone, I think. Um, so I'm literally just doing this to work out my nerves and my quirks and stop saying things like and or like. So just getting comfortable in my skin again. I'm not super familiar with being on this side of the camera. I'm a mother of athletes, so I like to be on the other side of the camera, and my favorite athletes are my children who are grown now, so now it's time to do me, and, I'm not the most outgoing when I'm sitting in a room by myself having a conversation, which to me sounds just like self-dialogue. So, with that being said, I appreciate any patience. Let's see. There are things that I take a huge interest in, and that I'm so fully behind. And one of those things is, my government, my state, and how much power they have. And I know for a long time, little by little, we've become so unfamiliar with what our rights are, and so unfamiliar with what those are there for, right? So, for example, the Second Amendment. The First Amendment is so important, it's ridiculous. I mean, that is just in Massachusetts, the First Amendment isn't even a thing. Like, there's no respect for the Constitution in Massachusetts. It is absolute insanity over here. It's almost as bad as California and New York. I would say that those 3 states are usually pretty controlling. And I know there was recently a new provision or law passed in Massachusetts regarding the gun laws, 2A. Um, and I just want to say for people who are not aware of exactly how that works in Massachusetts, or if you're scared of firearms or anything like that, um, you should probably know that Massachusetts is definitely one of the hardest states to get licensed in. You do have to pass a federal background check. You do have a waiting period. You still have to get permission from your local town, um, chief of police, right? So they can, for example, when I got mine, I was a resident of Canton, Massachusetts. I know. So I haven't even asked, how is the sound and the visual? I'm just going. So, I'm gonna be a little bit all over the place because again, I don't have a script, I don't have a team with me right now. If I did, it would be a little bit easier because then, like, I could conversate back and forth with them, and that's really easy. But sitting here alone in a room, which to me seems like self-dialoguing, is not the most comfortable thing to do. Anyhow, so back to that. Um, so these laws that they're putting into place around firearms and stuff like that, that does not keep illegal owners or responsible gun owners from being able to, use their firearms because they're typically not out there committing crimes, right? And let me tell you that if a criminal wants to get a gun, it's so much quicker, easier, and cheaper to get them illegally than it is to get them legally in Massachusetts. And most people who have to jump through those types of hoops to get their license definitely don't want to do anything that's going to hinder them keeping that license or otherwise. So, back to my story. I was a resident of Canton. I believe it was somewhere in the early 2000s, maybe. Um, the chief of police in Canton at the time was Kenneth Berkowitz. And at that time in my life, I was working at Brockton High Point detox PM shift. So I'm getting out at 11:30 midnight in Brockton. Now, if you don't know me, I'm 5 feet tall and I'm like 112 pounds. So, and I was working there PM shifts because I was also a full-time student because the goal was to further my education into mental health. And during that education, I was also doing an internship for a rape crisis and domestic violence um, organization. And my responsibility when I was with them was to go out in the middle of the night on call if a nurse has a victim um, in an emergency room, they call in a sexual assault nurse because they do not collect evidence or handle that themselves. Regular RN does not do that. You have to have a special nurse for that. It's called a sexual assault nurse. We call it a sane nurse. So, and then in some hospitals, or at least pre-COVID, not anymore, they have special rooms for assault victims. And one of the reasonings for that is because it is lined with cabinets and countertops and what looks like a med cart that they keep locked up for all of the things that they need for evidence collection. And those calls were all done typically in the middle of the night. And when that call comes in from the ER nurse, I have 2 hours to get there to sit with the victim and protect them and support them through a rape kit, through the most traumatizing event of their lives, and, help them to decide whether or not they wanna do a kit, explain how that works. For example, I always tell young ladies, like, "Listen, even if you're scared, please go do the kit because once the kit is collected, you're given a random not a random number, but a specific number, so it's not assigned by name, no one can pull it up, and that evidence is then stored so that if in 5 or 10 years you want to go ahead and move forward with, any kind of criminal charges, the evidence is there. You take that number, you call a certain phone number that we give you, and if you give them that collection number, that will pull your evidence kit. So it's not like if you do the kit that they go and test it, nothing's gonna happen. They just store it for you, for I think about 10 years, and then, within that 10 years, you can ask them to continuously store it as well. But if you don't request that, then I think they dispose of it after 10, and I don't quote me on that because I might have my numbers wrong. Um, so during that time, I'm a Canton resident and I'm doing these risky jobs. I'm doing interventions on the side, for mentally challenged people and, well, not challenged, but, people who are struggling and people dealing with chemical addictions and stuff like that. So, and obviously I would never carry that into one of those situations because God forbid that whoever I'm working with decided that they would try to overpower me, disarm me, and then use my weapon against me or themselves. I would never be able to forgive myself. So I do not carry on those calls. However, if I have to commute to a victim in the middle of the night, I'm probably doing that. So, with that being said, when my license to carry came back and I got it, it had a restriction on it. And that restriction decided by Kenneth Berkowitz, who is not currently, but was the chief of police in Canton. He decided for no, again, just because he chose to put restrictions on that license. And what that meant was that I could carry from my home to a gun range, and that's it. Or unless I wanted to go hunting, and my husband's a hunter, I'm not. Um, so I, reached out to the chief and let him know what it was that I do for a living and, told him that, if he has any children, especially daughters, that I would hope that he would not want me to not be able to defend myself in those situations. Um, and that, there's no reason for that restriction anyway. There's just not any reason for that restriction. So if I'm living in Canton and I'm working in Brockton, or if I'm going to, say, a hospital in Plymouth or, whatever in the middle of the night, I think you want me protected, especially if I'm going to help your children. So with that being said, again, Massachusetts is one of the hardest states to get licensed in, and, if you don't have one and you have a clean record, I would recommend that you go and get one for the sake of having it, even if you never wanna handle a firearm. Um, I also think that it was really important to my husband and I to teach each one of our children how to disarm a firearm if they were to come across one, whether they choose to have one or not. So there's another little piece of my belief system. So I am a big advocate for 2A. Um, and without 2A, we wouldn't have 1A, right? And I think at this point in time, I think that people are pretty aware that our First Amendment rights are being trampled on. I mean, just woo. Here's an example. Listen, we all know that the media is controlled. We all know that it is bought and paid for. And I'd like to be able to bridge the gap between, people who aren't aware of that and people who are. And I would like to do it with some love and compassion, which means I'm not always going to be speaking on political topics. I have the heart of somebody who really just wants to like wrap my arms around everybody and hug them. And politics is sometimes, a tough one because I can be a tough love person as well. And that the how I came to be that way is a story for another day. So, I just wanted to pop on here and basically, give a small introduction of who I am and what it is that I stand for and that I believe in. Um, and it's late, it's Friday, and I know everybody's got a million better things to do than sitting on here. So if you're sitting on here while I'm trying to force myself to grow, I thank you for that. And if not, that's fine. Um, but I'm always available for questions. And let's see, what else did I want to talk about really quick before I tie it up? Oh, I should probably mention my studio. So, because my husband and I are pretty interested in what's going on in the world and sharing that message with others because we didn't know once upon a time, too, a lot of the information that we have today. We did take a space that we had and turned it into, a live studio where we can either sit down and interview someone on a couch so that they can tell their story and like in a I guess in a talk show format. And then I also am prepared to hit the road to go out to give some airtime to a good cause if anybody has one. Um, and let's see, I want to be able to open that studio up for people to come in and tell their stories of experience, strength, and hope for others, or information, education. I'm going to be lining up speakers really soon. It might not be the most cleaned up show that you see, but I'm doing my best here. I do not have an IT staff currently, and all of my work at this point is volunteer, um, mainly because I'm still working to regain my health. And so I want to be able to get back into the world and utilize my skill set. And this is a good way to do it in between while my brain is healing and the rest of my body. Because again, like I said, 14 years undiagnosed. And if you know anything about Lyme disease or tick-borne illnesses, we're talking like little tiny microscopic corkscrew bugs that like to go and drill themselves into your organs, and that can cause a lot of problems, which then brought on lupus, to be honest with you. And then, so now we're talking about I have a cardiologist that I have to see regularly. Um, I have no muscle left on my body. I went from a size 6 to a double 0 in, like, 3 months. So now I'm trying to gain weight, and, I have to learn how to rebuild muscle on a body that's hitting, the middle ages, and I'm not sure how well that's gonna go, but we'll see. And, I do have a couple of people willing to work with me a little bit on that, only because, my whole life is like the barter system right now. And so if anybody has any like personal training skills or anything like that, I'm trying to hit them up and offer them sauna treatments or detox treatments from whatever it is. I have a handful of athletes right now that I'm helping a little bit. And, one of them in particular uses the infrared sauna regularly, first of all, for its cardiological benefits. Um, but, if you're looking to lose weight or get better, I can explain to you a little quick synopsis of how, like, body detoxing works, because it's not the kind of detox that people might think, which is like, from chemical dependency and being like dope sick or whatever like that. It is, if you could imagine a plumbing system that is clogged up with junk. And that plumbing system is your digestive system, and in recent years, in the last 10 plus years, the field of mental health has finally realized that gut health equals mental health. So, therein lies also some nutrition school that I did. So, in order to repair that gut or clog or whatever it is, you gotta detox the clog out. And our all the good stuff that we put into our bodies doesn't get absorbed if we're clogged up. So we try by starting to work with the gut and getting that sorted out. So if you're not regular, things like that, we try to get that stuff sorted out. The other the other thing is, getting you hydrated. Yeah, super, super, super hydrated, because all of obviously water is going to push out anything that's not good for your system, be it sugar or dairy or whatever it is that you feel that your body is reacting to. Um, oh, side note, these things also work on mold poisoning, heavy metal detoxing. So keep that in your pocket. Um, Where was I? Okay, so, if we unclog the system and then we basically like detox it out and then stay stay regular with that, um, the benefits are amazing. I just can't list enough. I do see that Trisha is in the chat here, Trisha McCormick. Um, she has done remarkable things with the equipment I have, and it's unbelievable. Like, we sometimes sit down and look at her before and after pictures, and, the amount of weight that she's lost, the amount of progress that her skin has made, and those are just like surface things. Those aren't even like the things that, what it is that got me well. Um, but I know that, when we were participating in mainstream medicine, I was getting sicker and sicker. I wasn't doing family events. I wasn't going anywhere, um, and I got so sick of declining invites that I just started to just say no always, and that's super, super duper isolating, so there's a lot that goes along with that, like not being able to work, not being able to socialize, and not being able to do the things that that I do for my own self-care, like being out in the garden and, you know, just being in so much pain and feeling flu sick and the brain just like really just doesn't even want to function. And so if I could even, oh, I mean, I can't express enough how much that these treatment methods have changed my life. And then, now I do maintenance to keep flares in check. And if I sense a flare coming on or I'm starting to feel a particular way, I've learned to pay such good attention to my body that I can feel it coming on. And when I do that, I get nervous because I'm scared I'm gonna like end up locked in my bedroom again for a couple more years. So at that point, you want to increase your treatments. And then also, I like to go get vitamin infusions, B12 shots, high dose vitamin C, and sometimes infusion cocktails. And I'll just go to a local drip bar or to, I have a place that I really love to go, and that is Dream Spa Medical in, not Dream Spa Medical, Jesus, Lord help me, um, Easton Medical Aesthetics to see a woman named Lindsay Galooly, who is absolutely unbelievably smart and kind and beautiful woman, both on the inside and the out. And she now has 4 locations, I believe 4 and a 5th on the way. So we're talking like Quincy, Easton. I don't know if it's Hanover or I think it's somewhere down by like the Derby shops or something like that. So yeah, Quincy Milton line, Easton, somewhere down Route 3, because I try not to go down that way. And I believe they're opening or just opened a brand new facility in Westwood, I think. Um, Also, another valuable resource is there's an acupuncture facility, not facility, but treatment center, I guess you could say, over in Quincy called Tong Ren by Tom Tam, and that is amazing as well. And let's see what other natural resources I use. Oof, there's so many, and you don't have to use them all. I always like to say, like, take what you need, leave the rest. You don't have to do all of those things. You don't have to do any of those things. You can pick and choose and see what works for you. If you're interested, you can reach out and contact me again through my website or email or phone or however it is that you already know me anyhow. And I'd be glad to answer your questions. And if I can't answer your questions, I'm a great researcher. So that's good news. Um, I don't know. So, Trisha, I do see you there, and it says, sorry, I thought I was posting the link. Oh, so she might be trying to find some links for those methods that I mentioned, like Tongren. Um, and again, that's in Quincy, and that is an acupuncture center. And that man he's published, and he is an amazing, amazing, very talented healer. Um, the doctor I see in New Hampshire is Bert Matheson, if anyone's looking for a naturopath, who is knowledgeable and will take all the time in the world to listen. I feel that he genuinely cares about his patients. Um, I also have a referral for a nutritionist if that is something that anybody's interested and you're in my area. Let's see. I have a massage therapist as well that we were using basically just to try to like get everything moved around to get the tissues going and, assist in some lymphatic drainage, which helps to detox the body also. So, and there's a ton of ways you can do that. I have a vibrating plate over here that you can stand on to open up all those pathways before you get into a sauna or a foot bath. There's methods to use before you go in the sauna, like you could take a charcoal pill, and that will help collect up some of the toxins in your body so that they can exit together. Um, let's see. I mean, there's a million things I could say, and right now it looks like it's just me and Trisha in here. So, um, I guess that is good enough to walk through my fear of being on here. I don't even know what this looks like. I'm sure somebody will let me know. But this was my test video. I invite anyone if they want to follow me on any platforms to just to go directly to my website. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, I mean, obviously you can view everything in between, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see all of the links to my media access and or social media, I should say. And then, so once I started to feel better, I felt that it was my duty to share what I was able to learn about myself and a few other things that I educated myself on through medical research. And now I wanna share those things with others. I belong to a series of support groups for women in my situation, and if I told you that those women are so ill, um, so ill, and they're 98% of them are using, pharmaceuticals to assist them, and they're suicidal almost every single day. And that's an easy thing to slide into, mainly because when you're trying to heal your body like this and you just keep getting sicker and sicker, you become really tired and frustrated of having others take care of you. That's really hard. That was for me, that was probably one of the toughest things to have to do was to rely on my husband. And I mean, like, oof, before I got sick, I was like a super mom. And when I got sick, it hit hard, and, it's an invisible illness, so, my kids didn't understand, and like I said, I isolated. I don't like to be a negative Nelly, so I just kind of withdraw myself out of the situation because I don't wanna go anywhere and be like, "Ugh, I don't feel good. I'm in pain. I feel like I have the flu. Everything hurts. I can't see." I got sores, all kinds of weird stuff, and nobody wants to be around that, so, I just kept to myself for a long, long time, and for a lot of people, I think they think that I just fell off the planet, and, so asking for help is it's still a huge struggle for me, so I know that that's one of the battles that God's just gonna keep putting in front of my face until I freaking do it. And, that's just not something I'm prepared to master yet. Um, I do hang on to my independence for my dear life, especially, like, financial independence and my self-respect and my dignity means more to me than anything, and I think the reason that is because I was raising 2 daughters, and I knew I had a big job ahead of me. Um, every good decision I've ever made was for my 2 daughters, probably still is, and I will work through that as well. But in the meantime, I am taking care of myself. I'm getting better all the time. I do have flares sometimes. So if I fall off of Facebook or YouTube or whatever, could possibly have something to do with that, or it could possibly be with, back-to-back court dates that I have to go help people with, or, what other advocacy work that comes through. I also do crisis work too. So, there's a lot of times where I don't know what I'm doing that day when I wake up, and then boom, something crazy will happen and I need to run out the door and go assist somebody that needs assistance. Now, in closing, again, because of this process, because of the research that I've done, and because of the amount of people that I see that are still suffering, I chose to, start a podcast and start sharing some of the information that I've researched and, help to educate people who, were in the same boat that I was maybe, 10 years ago, where I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just knew that there was a lot of things wrong and nobody could figure it out. And, so navigating that is really hard. And so I'm good just even, for conversation or whatever. I have a couple of my daughter's friends, they're all adult children, but a couple of them consider me like their primary care physician. Um, just because there is a better, more natural way to accomplish your goals, when it comes to taking care of yourself and your body. And, before we use, pharmaceuticals were supposed to be, a last resort. Um, so that's how this family utilizes that. We basically utilize our health insurance for testing. And then when we know what our results are and we know what we're looking at, then we, develop a treatment plan according to, um, a more natural method. There are sometimes when, pharmaceuticals can become involved in our lives for other reasons. Um, for example, ivermectin, fantastic Nobel Peace Prize medication. But it's funny because I know that if you had said that a couple of years ago, you would have been in big trouble and people would have accused you of taking horse paste. And I think that that is hysterical because it just goes to show the amount of people that do not look into what they're putting into their bodies, and it kinda gives a little hint away to that maybe the media and maybe some doctors aren't always being super truthful and looking out for our best interest over their own. So, I'm just here to share information. Again, I love people. So in the studio that we have for designed for when we bring on guests, um, if you have any stories, ideas, or if you want to share your experience, strength, and hope, something cool. I also love to give tons and tons of credits to young athletes and things like that. So, if you have a young athlete that you want to give a shout out to, pay some attention to, or anything like that, encouraging young people is so, so important. So, if that's something also that you're interested in, maybe you can come on as well. We are currently filling spots for guest speakers. We have some exciting speakers that will be coming in. And, no, we don't produce a guest list in advance, but obviously, when those times come, I'll be setting up the little warning here on YouTube or StreamYard or wherever I am right now. And, depending on whatever the topic is, you can choose whether or not to tune in. Again, there's going to be a huge variety. I'd like to do a series on the Constitution. I'd like to do a series on medical research. I'd like to do a series on, all different things like, again, rape crisis, domestic violence, um, postpartum depression is another topic that I'm going to be putting on. And I believe I can get some great speakers on that. So, anyway, I'm sure I'm going to watch this later and hate it, or I won't watch it at all. Maybe somebody can watch it for me and critique it, I don't know, but I think that's good for now. It says here we're at 49 minutes. I think that's good enough, and, again, if you wanna reach out to me in any way, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me I'm also on I'm on all of those platforms, and again, so if you just go to kcminterventions.com and scroll all the way to the bottom of the webpage, you will see all my social media icons right there, and you can go ahead and, jump on, and feel free to reach out anytime. You can say you enjoyed it, you can say you suck, you can say whatever, just give me some good advice, and I am looking forward to feeling comfortable doing this. And I'm probably gonna do, like, 300 shorts between, like, now and whenever I get comfortable, just so I can work through it. But, um oh my god, they can't say that I suck? Hmm. So we believe in freedom of speech over here, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But you know what they say about opinions, they're like assholes. Everybody has one and they all stink. Um, but anyway, yes, so any feedback is great. If you wanna come on the show, that's great. If you wanna just talk or you have questions, if you have illnesses that just can't piece it together, um, I can help you build that puzzle. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not anything fantastic. I'm just a human being who lived through it all, went through it all, fought for it all, earned it all, and now I just wanna share it all. So, I'm here, and you can always reach out to me anytime. Also, if you're unaware, the chat bot on my website does go directly to me. Um, for now, I can handle and manage what's happening currently. If things get crazy or if God sees fit for me to be blessed in a way that makes me busy, then obviously I will, add people to the journey as I see fit. Um, the most important thing to me is to, have love and compassion and decency. Um, my thoughts moving forward is that, if I could build a community and then just get people in here to share their opinions. And I don't care who you vote for. I don't care what your political beliefs are. Let's talk about it. Let's close the gap on that because there's just so much purposeful division and we can't let it happen to us because we're Americans and we're supposed to be sticking together. So, with that being said, I'm going to close out. Um, I see all my girls are on here. Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. And let's do it again tomorrow.